Welcome to Better Life, Better Business, your go-to podcast for how you can grow your business, double your productivity and time off, work smarter and not harder. Brought to you by local business coaching expert Christoph Nauer, CEO of Balance 6 in Walnut Creek, California.
Welcome back to Better Life, Better Business with local business coach and time management expert Christoph Nauer of Balance 6. I'm your host, Rebecca Troxel, founder and CEO of Rebecca's Vault. I am really excited for the interview we're doing today because I feel like I'm getting to introduce everyone to my very personal, dynamic duo. I'm also excited to be part of a conversation between two of my very favorite people and hands down the two best and personal favorite coaches I have ever worked with. Now, Christoph, before I completely steal your thunder, why don't you introduce our guest to our viewers?
Oh, thanks, Rebecca. Sure. Welcome, everybody. I'm Christoph Nauer of Balance 6, and today I'm going to be talking with Brandon Glass, the founder and owner of Contra Costa Fitness. Brandon, thanks so much for coming here be with us today, and really glad to have you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I really appreciate you thinking of me and inviting me.
Absolutely. As you and I'm sure the listeners also know, the purpose of my podcast is to provide excellent resources, helpful tools, and tips to business owners. And that's exactly why I wanted you to be a guest today, Brandon. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is you do and how you bring value to business owners and entrepreneurs?
So I'm a coach and a personal trainer, and I have a few other titles. But what I do ultimately in terms of business owners, in particular, when you take care of your health and your wellness, right, it makes you more efficient. Right. And we talk about a lot of the same thing, right, Christoph, time management, respecting your own boundaries, that type of thing. But study after study shows that people who prioritize certain aspects of their health and wellness are much more efficient. It's actually a very important part of making money. It ultimately is. And so in terms of what I do for businesses and business owners, I make them more money through creating more efficient owners and client and employees.
Well, you're speaking my language there, Brandon. I think that's absolutely true. I mean, I think one of the things that Rebecca has heard me say a gazillion times, and most of you listeners as well, is that self-care is really critically important. And taking care of your health, I think really is important because this country spends millions of dollars or billions of dollars making or fixing our health once we destroy it. So wouldn't it be smarter not to be destroying it to begin with, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's where you come into play, I would imagine, because you show them how to do that. Can you tell us a little bit more how you do that?
I always tell people to look at their health and their well-being as in a preventative sense. And like you just said, we have a tendency culturally to address problems rather than to look for them or prevent them. And so that's a big part of what I do. I come from a physical therapy background, so I often get people, or I used to in my clinic, get people who were, already dealing with an injury or usually several injuries or conditions that had piled up. And, we would treat those things, but toward the end of treatment, the conversation steers toward, how do we prevent this from happening again? Mm-hmm. And that is very much my focus. How do we prevent those things from happening? How do we live the best possible life we can?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you. What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your business, Brandon?
I really, really underestimated how difficult it would be for me to manage my own time and my work-life balance. I worked at, for the federal government. The whistle blows, you're on the clock. The whistle blows again, you're off the clock. That's how it should be anyway. And I wasn't particularly great at it there, but once, the whistle stopped blowing and I was the one holding the whistle, it got really, really difficult. And the list never ends when you're a business owner. So I wish I had had some tools that I have now. Let me tell you, I wish I'd met you when I first started my business, because that would have saved me just so much time and headache and distress.
Yes, that is true. And I think that's so critically important that you have somebody to help you, because your passion and what you're really good at is one thing. But most of us, we're not good at everything. And so if we can surround ourselves with people who have a skill set that we don't have, that really makes us so much better.
Yeah.
What's your biggest challenge right now, Brandon?
Along those lines, so I really, I guess the biggest challenge is respecting the lines that I've made. I think that will always be a challenge. Ideas happen, emergencies happen. Sure, that's one thing, but I know when I need to push myself away from the table, right, and the desk, and silencing that voice that says, 5 more minutes. Let's work on this for 5 more minutes, because that's how I, really lose hours and days. It's a few minutes at a time, right? And so that's always sort of the challenge, is catching myself in the moment, right? Maybe developing some more of those, continuing to develop those strategies and those cues that tell me, hey, you're doing it again. Walk away. And it's a process. I'm much better at it than I was, but it's definitely an ongoing thing to work on.
Yes, and you're not alone. And I think that's the part where we have to give ourselves permission to stop and to take a break.
Yeah.
And that's where one of my clients said to me, "Oh, this is so nice that you're giving me permission to put myself first." And I love that line, but she does not need my permission.
Right. Right. But we're often waiting for that, right?
Yes,
Always.
you're right. So what are some of the best resources that have helped you along the way?
So you already said it, having that person. So people, coaches for myself, partners in my business, networking partners, investing in other voices to either help me inside my business or to help me outside my business by being another voice for my business and another set of eyes for my business. But I don't think anything is more valuable than people ever. And so that has been the biggest and most important part of my success is understanding that value, not just for myself, but also with my clients as well, and valuing them, and making sure that they know that they're really valued in my business.
Okay. So what role does delegating play in your business?
It's huge. And I don't have like a big team, right? It's really just me and a few other people. We're a tiny operation over here. But anytime someone else on my team or in my circle has a skill I don't have, or that is just that's better than what I currently have, right? You're kind of jack of all trades when you're a business owner. Anything that'll save me time, I ultimately know that is always best to hand those tasks over to somebody else when I can. My time is extremely valuable now, and understanding that has made it a lot easier for me to delegate tasks.
Delegating is hard. I still struggle with that quite a bit.
It's tough. It requires a little relinquishing of some control. When you own the business, no one cares about it as much. It's not their baby, and so you Have to be patient with that, but as long as you again value that human element, then you end up with a really fantastic team.
Well, kind of in the same vein, our viewers know that Christoph is very big on prioritization. It's a big topic on his podcast, and we bring it up very often. We've discussed everything from the 80-20 rule, the ABCDE method, proactive procrastination. I mean, I could go on for forever. What is the method you use to prioritize?
In terms of prioritization, I mean, hardest and time sensitive first. That is what just gives me the most peace of mind and allows me to then put all the other things, into place. So, eat the frog, right? Yep, that's number one. I mean, that's it. I don't wake up and check my email first thing in the morning anymore. It's allowing myself, maybe that's along the lines of proactive procrastination in a way. But when I do, it's always, all right, what's the hardest thing I've got to do today and what has to be done immediately? Then everything else sort of slides into place.
Yeah, I definitely think that every single coaching session I have with Christoph, he says, eat that frog to me about half a dozen times. So that's definitely a big part of prioritization.
Yeah, there's an art to it.
And just to clarify for the listeners, that has nothing to do with a culinary dish, okay?
No,
Not eating frogs over here.
no
That's
frog legs.
absolutely right. So, Brandon, as a business owner, an entrepreneur, you're the owner and the person in charge to make sure that everything gets done. That means you have lots of responsibilities that you have to juggle. What do you do to make sure that everything gets done and nothing falls through the cracks?
Um, well, we already, delegating what I can. Delegating what I can is definitely a really big one, and it sounds contradictory or paradoxical, but investing time in myself away from my business makes me again more efficient in my business. And so I have just found over and over again that when I find that I am fixated and I'm stressing and I know things have to get done, the best thing is actually to step away. And that has been immensely valuable. I can't tell you how many times that has saved me from those, the longest hours.
Yeah, no, I think that is good advice to everybody who's listening. Absolutely. Brandon, I don't know if you know, but only about 3% of people have written goals for their business and life. How do you handle goal setting, and do you belong to those 3%?
No, I don't belong to those 3%. So I really write them as I go. They come up and I sort of evaluate them and refine them as things change and evolve. When I started my business, I wrote down a goal that read something like, create a local culture of health and fitness. And, it's, I don't know, so many years later, and that goal looks more like to create a worldwide network and culture that supports real, sustainable physical, psychological, and spiritual health and wellness through a positive community and reliable science-based information, right? It's big. It's become much bigger. It's evolved quite a bit. And yeah, that in particular is kind of something that's always at the front of my mind, this ultimate like humongous goal. The smaller ones, I got to write those things down, put them where I can see them so they're front of mind.
Yes.
Well,
That,
and I do want to say and jump in because I do know you personally that Brandon has this very unique way of combining what I call positive affirmations and goal setting. And it is just, you have to work with him to see how amazing it is. And I'm not a big fan of positive affirmations. And even though I try so hard all the time and it's definitely a unique way of goal setting that has helped me be a better goal setter in the time that I've worked with him, taking what I learned from Christoph from business coaching and what I take from Brandon in personal coaching and smooshing all that together. You guys totally overlap each other and help reinforce that and make goal setting easier.
Right. Practicing it in a way that really ingrains it as well. I think that's the other part that I didn't mention. Writing things down for me. Writing my goal. My goals are here. I can see them, but writing them daily is a practice for me that really puts it into my brain. This is, it's my purpose, and it puts it in there. And it kind of keeps me from getting too far away from those goals.
Yes.
See, you're part of the 3%.
Yeah, see, because you're absolutely right. The thing is, if it's not written down, it's not committed. It's floating around. And
Right.
once it's in writing, you can actually see it, and you can look at it, and it stares back at you. No, I think that's absolutely critical. I mean, Brian Tracy talks a lot about that, and he says he's the old-fashioned guy, pen and paper. But you can do it a Word document on a computer. Either way, it works.
Yeah, that pen and paper helps. I misunderstood your question as well. Yes, I am part of that 3%. Absolutely.
That's what I thought when I heard your answer, so that's good.
Yes. The answer is yes. I'll have to change that in post.
So, one of the 6 in my business name is health. And the others, as most listeners by now know, are time, money, relationships, self-improvement, and higher power. But obviously, health is the one that speaks the most to Brandon, and that's where his expertise is at. Do you have some tips and tricks for our business owners in this regard that you would like to share with our listeners, Brandon?
It's the basics, and this is very much how my coaching is set up, or the base of what I do is set up. It's the basics. Get those simple things under control. Sleep, regular activity, hydration, eat well, and live well by respecting your own time, and pushing yourself away from the desk again when you say you will. Those are simple things that make us much more efficient at our work and what we do. And that's ultimately, when it comes to working with other business owners and coaching business owners, that's where I have to kind of hit them, right? Taking care of yourself in the most simple, basic of ways makes you a better businessman, business person.
Thank you.
Yes. And so it's true. That's definitely at the base of everything. Everything else kind of builds on top of that, because nothing else is going to stand and function if your base is not solid, and you are the base of your business.
Yeah, you make it sound so simple and easy, but I think if it was, you and I, we would both be out of business, right?
Yeah, that's the other part of it. If you really struggle with those things, hire someone to help you. And
I will say that Brandon has made it easy for me personally to implement some of those things and focus on my health. You mentioned the sleep part. And most people, when you do a program with them, they say, oh, you need to get 8 hours of sleep a night. And that's just such a hard goal for me to achieve in my current situation, but even before my current situation. How does anyone do that? And you make it so easy where, you do this program where Brandon does a program where there's incremental change that build these great habits to be healthier. And one of them is, did you sleep for 7 hours last night? And it was so much easier because it's like, oh, I was only 30 or 45 minutes away from that 7 hours, that it made it kind of a challenge for my competitive side to be like, I'm going to get to that 7 hours. And it's helpful for a business owner to actually have energy because they got enough sleep the night before. Go figure.
Go figure.
Well, Brandon, I know I'm not just speaking for myself, but probably anyone who knows you knows that you are a great influence to a lot of the people around you, whether they work with you or not. And I want to know who some of the people are in your life that have been influential to you.
Oh, man. I know it's the most cliche thing in the world, but I was really, really lucky. I had a dad who taught me how to work really hard during those work hours, and to take risks and not be afraid to fail. Um, and so I was really lucky that way. When his father died, he compared his dad to a grinder. So in hockey, you have your heroes, right? The Gretzky's, the guys who everyone knows their name, and then you have the guys who are the hard workers, the reliable guys that show up, outwork the other guy, and make it possible for the heroes to be heroes. And that is 100% my dad. He's a true grinder. And to me, those unsung heroes are the real heroes to me. My dad was really very much that way. And my dad also knows very much how to relax as well, and enjoy his time. He always was really good about prioritizing his family. He stepped away from a career in banking to be home with his family because it took too much time away from his family. And so I always respected that of my dad, and he's been a huge, huge, huge influence. The rest of my influences are like musicians, and they're horrible influences. You should. They're the heroes, not grinders.
Well, we need them both, right?
Absolutely.
So at this point, I would imagine that our listeners can't wait to connect with you, Brandon. How can they find you online?
The best place to go actually is our Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group called with another coach called Drop the Fat, Not the Tacos. Yeah, Rebecca's in there. It's a very fun, super supportive little group where we talk all kinds of stuff. I do a live every week in that group and choose a topic and try to provide some free information for everybody. I think information should always be free. And other places, Coach Brandon Glass, that's where you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. Contra Costa Fitness on Instagram as well, and our website is contracostafitness.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Brandon, for having this conversation with us today. I enjoyed having both of you here and having a conversation with you. And for our viewers, if you know someone who would like some help and guidance taking action on prioritizing so you can grow your business, make sure you check out Christoph's website, balance6.biz. There you can learn about Christoph and get his free report, 5 Secrets for Putting Your Business Growth on Autopilot. Thank you for coming back and joining us. Until next time, continue working on prioritizing yourself and having a better life and a better business.
This week's episode of Better Life, Better Business is brought to you by CA&C Video Productions. Since 1985, CA&C Video has been providing live streaming, event production, and analog to digital transfer services. They capture those life-changing moments, preserving your history for current and future generations. Because your history matters. Visit their website at cacvideo.com. Thank you so much for your sponsorship.
That's all for now. Thanks for listening to another episode of Better Life, Better Business with business and time management coach Christoph Nauer with Balance 6, the leading business and time management company in Northern California. Visit them at balance6.biz.